Welcome to Dear Tay, You Got This, the show where transformation meets practical action. Join us each week as we dive into powerful tools and insights for leveling up your life. If you're ready to embrace change and explore the many sides of growth, you're in the right place. Our signature Trinity segment keeps gratitude, achievements, and dreams front and center, while every episode ends with a weekly challenge to spark real-life transformation. Tune in, take action, and get inspired to live your best life. My very first book that I wrote is called Tainted, Overcoming the Stigma of Sexual Trauma. But this beautiful book you can actually get on Amazon. And I'm going to put the links of both Chakra Wonders and the Amazon link for this book into the description. But Tainted, Overcoming the Stigma of Sexual Trauma is my story of overcoming sexual trauma and the methods that I use to do that. As my first book, this actually took me 6 years to write because it was a very heavy book to write. But I'm so excited to be able to share this with you guys. And if you want a copy, you can go ahead and get it from Amazon. And if you want a signed autographed copy, I do have a link for that as well. So I can go ahead and put that in the chat as well. Hello, and welcome back to Dear Tay, You Got This. I'm Tay, your host, and today I am bringing you my two beautiful best friends. I have been friends with these beautiful women for at least 15 years, at least. I think it's been about 15 at this point. We met in college. I met Candice through her ex-husband. When they separated, I also separated from him. And I got the wife out deal. I don't know. And then Vanessa was part of our friend group as well. And when she came into the fold, we were also friends with her partner at the time.
Yeah.
And when he left, we also divorced him and got the girlfriend.
That's so funny though, because it's like we all were dating guys that were friends, and that's how we became friends. And then we all broke up with the guys, but kept each other.
I didn't think about that because, like, was I dating? I think I might have been dating Brian at the time.
I think you were, yeah.
And, Ezra and him were friends, and that's how me and him met. F those guys. we're cool.
We should thank them. Like, thank you.
Just get some little cards at Christmas. Like, thank you for letting me have these beautiful things in my life. But yeah, no, like now that I think about it, that's really funny. Like, dang. Well, look, and truth be told, I have no idea if they're even friends anymore. I don't.
They are. They still.
Okay. Yeah. Right. So they are also doing better without us. So
I wouldn't say better. They're still cool with each other.
That's good. That's good.
I wouldn't say their lives have moved anywhere.
I would say not like those who actually want growth, right? I think it looks different for everybody. Look, exactly. Yeah. That sounds a little harsh, but like we're gonna get into that. I feel like that's a good place to
I'm gonna sip this chai.
Segue.
Started. First, Vanessa, I'm gonna have you go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell people about yourself a little bit. Whatever you want to tell them. Doesn't have to be long.
Oh my gosh, I don't know what to say. So I've been friends with Tay a long time. I'm actually from Cleveland, where Tay's living now. But I moved down to Miami about 5 years ago. Been living here, currently with my partner. I've had some big life things happen recently that Tay has really helped me work through and helped me understand my own personal journey recently. So yeah, she's pretty awesome.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
And Candice, how about you, lovely?
I am Candice. I am a mom. I'm a daughter. I am a friend. I am one spoiled child of the universe.
I love that.
Right.
I am one spoiled child of the universe. And Tay and I have been friends for like more than 15 years, because I've been in Atlanta for 15 years.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
have you really?
Yeah, I've been in
I swear I
Atlanta.
thought it was like, nope, because you were down there a little bit before you had your son. So yeah, no. God. Okay. So like almost 20. Listen, now you're just aging us all.
Now I'm really spilling tea, right? Now I'm telling a little too much.
Now you're aging us all.
That's okay. It's totally fine. We look fabulous. That's all.
We do.
And Tay has been there really to support me through much of my transition after the end of my 12-year marriage. So it's been a long journey. It'll be a 5-year journey come next Friday. Wow. I know, right? I think I'm gonna pop some champagne or something.
Right.
Pop some bottles. Get lit. But no, so there's been a lot of uncovery and discovery, and so we'll chat a bit more about that, I guess, as we get into the today.
No, and you know what? I think that's so cool because, like, first of all, thank you for, giving me my flowers. It's so funny because I never think about that, like how we all have helped each other through all the transitions that we've been through. And I think that it says something when you have a friend group where you can always go back to, the epicenter of the care, the love, and the support that we have within our little trio. Completely love that. Look, hopefully I don't cry, but if I do, I don't apologize.
I was gonna say there might be tears and violence. I don't know. We'll see.
I was recording on Monday and I was like, oh damn, the tears. Shit.
I'm like, if you start, I'm gonna cry, and it's gonna be like ugly, like cry.
No. I'm gonna try to keep it to a minimum. All right. But what I wanted to talk to you guys about today was really about like self-care, and your journeys through, the growth and the transitions that you guys had to make in your life. And you can pick any transition, because let's just be real, we're always moving, we're always changing, we're always transforming. So, I want both of you guys to think of one pinpointed transition that has caused the trajectory that you're on now, and why that has compelled you to continue with your growth and your healing.
Do you want to go first, Shua?
Sure, I'll take it. I was actually thinking about this not all that long ago, because I think we all have. I don't want to say I think we all have. I know in my own, reflecting on my own life, there are certain moments that I can recall that fundamentally changed me as a person. And they're not really the moments that you think, or sometimes they are the moments that you think. Mm-hmm. So I remember this particular moment that kind of sparked the journey that I'm on today. It came the moment that I asked my now ex for a divorce, the moment I asked him for the divorce. And as you guys know, by the time we got to having this conversation, several things had transpired, fallen apart. We're not going to go into details here because that's not the point of the conversation.
No.
We arrived at the point and I'm asking, right? Mm-hmm. And so essentially I had put so much of my own life on hold to invest in him and his dreams and his goals and his business. And basically, instead of working that business and working toward the vision I thought we shared, he basically played in my face. Mm-hmm. With my family and my money simultaneously.
Yeah.
So when I asked him for the divorce, he very angrily looked at me and said, I'm not the reason you didn't follow your dreams. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to hit him in the face, but I didn't.
You did not choose violence.
But I didn't. I did not choose violence. I chose to sit with those words and reflect. And the truth of the matter is, he is correct. No, he is not the reason. I am the reason. I made a choice, I made a decision, and I made that decision largely based off of the woman I was taught to be by the other women around me, the women that they are.
Yeah.
And that was when I made the decision that above all else, above anyone else, I choose me.
I love that.
So basically every decision I've made has been predicated on that. And so when I went and, did searching it and kind of got back in touch with what my dream actually was, because yes, I did leave it on the back burner somewhere a ways before and had to go back and find it and get back in touch with it. And once I did, I made the decision to not let it go until I got it, full stop. And to make the decision that no one would get in the way of that again. And so that's kind of been the journey that I've been on and I've been taking. And I think as far as self-care goes, it really has been a lot of saying no. A lot of saying no.
Right.
Yeah. And instead of being the person that everybody came to do the thing or to get the things done, I decided to put my own agenda first. And trust me, I don't want to sound braggadocious. I'm a talented woman. I'm capable of a great many things. And so I get tapped to do a lot of things for a lot of other people and their goals and their agendas. But what I've discovered is human beings who are willing to waste their own time are certainly willing to waste yours. And I'm not willing to waste any more time.
Girl, say that with your chest.
Right.
Say
for the people
that
in the back.
with your chest.
For the
please.
people in the back.
Man.
I'm not. I feel like I wasted 12 years. I'm not wasting, well, actually 17 if you count the years we were dating. So yeah, I wasted half my life, and I'm not gonna waste any more time. So it has been a lot of being confident enough to tell people no, and being comfortable enough to be seen as the bad guy for telling people no. Because people do, they guilt trip you, they try to demonize you or manipulate you into getting what it is that they want without really thinking that it's really selfish the way that they're coming at you. But I'm not going to ask them to do introspection. I'm just going to hold my boundaries.
Absolutely.
That's it.
She's throwing things. Look out.
She's choosing violence. No, okay. but that's kind of my little intro spiel.
I love it. I love it. Look, I wrote down some notes because we're gonna go back to some of these things. And I feel like Vanessa is also going to be on the same kind of trajectory. So
wavelength,
Vanessa,
yes.
please share with us your wisdoms.
So actually it kind of ties really well into what Candice was talking about regarding boundaries. That's something that I didn't realize that I struggled with, but I really do. I realized a lot of interest through a lot of introspection this year that I'm a people pleaser. I have issues holding boundaries. I have issues saying no. I struggled so much with things that should be easy to hold accountable and people that really are your support group. And kind of deciding in the same manner, Candice, that you do have to put yourself forward first, and that it is okay to say no. And God, you see,
it's okay. Listen. I was gonna say, if you haven't heard any of my previous podcasts, please know that tears are welcome. Because what I understand is that, especially when it comes to talking about what I talk about on my podcast, we've all gone through so many different things, and I feel like it's okay for us to show that how much this stuff means to us, what it is that we're pushing forward to do. So please do not feel embarrassed of your tears.
At all.
I don't. Like, they're there all the time. I mean,
All
don't let me get on a
Look,
TikTok. Like, forget about it.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
But no, like, I feel like this year has been a lot for me. Like, I've had a family with health issues. Like, I've had my trajectory completely changed. Like, I felt like the past few years have been kind of rough for me generally, but like I was starting to kind of make some headway and momentum in my own self growth. And then I had something completely left field just take it out. And, you know, the universe said you had to make other plans. So you do. And it was time for me to sort of step up and be supportive for my family. And in a way, you know, they've always been there for me. So I felt like it was necessary for me to be there. But necessary for me to be there in a way that was appropriate for me. And holding boundaries is something that I will has really like changed the game for me. Like being able to not feel bad being the bad guy, or not feel bad when something doesn't work out the way that you think it's going to for another person, you know? And for me, like, self-care has really been difficult because sometimes it's about time, you know, because like I think as women in general, we always feel like we could be doing more with our time, or like that we're supposed to be doing more, like whatever more is, you know, like but I had to realize that like I am enough and what I do is enough, and that my self-care is doing things that put me in the driver's seat a little bit more.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So, and I think there are particular things that I do for self-care a little bit more now. There's actually an app that I want to share with you guys. It's kind of like a Tamagotchi.
I have been looking for an app like that. So
share. Look, I'm pretty sure my listeners will be like, yes. Give me that.
Give me a Tamagotchi.
So it's a Tamagotchi, but the way that it works is like you set goals for yourself, and when you complete a goal, it works towards something to do with your pets that you're taking care of, your Tamagotchi. And it's a really interesting, because I love gamification. Like, you know, I'm a gamer, right? So I'm all about finding ways to get me to be motivated to do things that I might otherwise not look forward to do.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, it's from a Tamagotchi. Like, let me just take 5 minutes and do this, you know, like, but all of those items are usually self-care items. So it's really cool. It's called Finch.
Like the bird?
Yes, like the bird. And let me see if I can pull it up really quick and just show you. So this is the, I don't know if it'll show because
I can see it. Well, kind of. There we go.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay. But yeah, so like when you, let me see if can you see that?
Oh, he's cute.
So that's my little Tamagotchi. And then underneath are like my goals for the day. And like in the morning, like I wake up and I, you know, like start my day. And then as I like go through the day and do my different goals, like I check it off. And then the Tamagotchi does this like adventure. So it goes off once you complete enough goals, it goes off and does like it searches and does this like little adventure thing, and then it comes back to you and like tells you a little story. It's so adorable.
That's so
adorable.
Cool. That seems really cool. I think I might download it, just check it out.
Yeah, you definitely should. It's really cute, but it's like a cool way to, and they have like meditations and like different things that you can do that are also self-care items, which is really nice, and it's free, so yay.
Nice. Now you said something very interesting that kind of like prompted a book, And the first thing I wanted to do was like get up and go get it. And then I'm like, I'm recording. You can't like actually do that right now. But there is and actually I might be able to look it up. So when I was doing a lot of my trauma research, and like looking at books and things like that, because as you guys know, and some of my podcast listeners know, I was a trauma release guide for a very long time before I became a transformation and spiritual coach. And so what I was doing was I was looking for different books to help. So to help me like, understand more about trauma and help people go through and release their trauma. And one of the books that I had picked up was called Reality is Broken: Why Games Make Us Better and How They Can Change the World. And that book is by Jane McGonigal. And no, I'm not getting paid for this. This is just a shameless plug, just like the Finch app. But it's one of those books that talks about stuff like that, like the app, like Finch, where it's like, let's figure out how we can gamify our lives and really start to achieve the goals that we put out there for ourselves. So if anybody's interested in picking up that book or in downloading that app, I think that would be a great little companion for that. For sure.
Yeah.
So yeah. So thank you both for sharing. One of the things that I wanted to go back to, because both of you guys were talking about your boundaries. And I literally was listening to a podcast today where they were talking about boundaries. And one of the things that you guys talked about was saying no. And what I want to know is how you felt at first, realizing that you had to say no to some things in order for you to continue on your path. And then what it feels like now as you're like still using that as like one of your boundaries, one of your grounds for moving forward. How has that shifted?
Well, I would say, well, mine kind of went along with like kind of a grief process. And like the first stage is what, like shock, and then it's like anger. So
we're all in denial, baby.
So well, wait, how R-rated can we get with our language in this podcast?
So I don't have any limitations. It does go on Spotify, and I just let them know like, hey, we're a little explicit. But really the most that I do is say fuck. So I think
okay, beautiful. Because at first it wasn't a no, it was a fuck no. Like it was a real
aggressive.
It was real.
Guttural.
It's a very firm, hard no.
It was a hard no. And it was a no that came out of anger. It really wasn't out of it wasn't out of self-preservation. I was just pissed. Like I'm just gonna call it what it is. I was pissed. But over time, it has tapered into no, this is just the way it's gonna be. It's more of a resigned, like, no.
Yeah.
It's not the way it's gonna be. At first I was kind of uncomfortable, and to be truthful, depending on who the person is and the kind of relationship I have with them, the no's are a little more difficult. And I think that's true for most folks.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Hey niece. But what I have realized, like over time, in saying that no, and like at some point I had to own being the bad guy, because the amount of like, quite honestly, the only two people that really supported us during the divorce were the two of you. I don't think enough women talk about the fact that people go ghost when you go through a divorce. They tend to say, I don't want to get involved. That's a personal matter. Even your family, hands off. Everybody falls back, save for the two of you and my parents. Everybody else disappeared. But the crazy thing was, everybody went and wrapped their arms around him. And I was like, but he, okay.
And I wonder if that was just like the story that they were getting,
and
narrative.
I know that, I know the narrative he was spinning was a false narrative. That's how he ended up getting put out of the place he was in, because he was lying to people about what actually happened.
Oh,
but
that's another story.
That's a tale for another time.
Is that right?
But I really, like, at some point I had to just at some point I just had to own it and lean into being the bad guy. Like, I would even, you guys know, I got a whole new capsule wardrobe for my 40th birthday. Most of that shit is black. I walk into the room wearing it so that you know exactly who the villain is. You know exactly who the bad guy is and who to point the finger at. It's fine. Not a problem. But I have no issue saying, well, any of the things that are on my mind now, but but no specifically. So it started off with a lot of anger, and then I realized, like, sis, you don't have to be so aggressive with it. You can tone that back. Still keep it, but it doesn't have to be so aggressive. So it's been more of a it's just the way it is.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you.
I feel like for me, saying no was sometimes more for myself first. That I can't be everything for everybody, or that I can't do everything for everybody, that I have to let them do things on their own. Unless there were like specific asks, you know what I mean? Like specific instances where somebody has asked for help, and that's different, then I can make a decision. But like, yeah, I think a lot of my no's have been in particular to myself more than to other people sometimes, but there have been cases, where I've had to say no to other people, and in those, oh, sorry, my light likes to go off just randomly, just because it feels like it. That's another story. But yeah, like, even saying no to myself at first was difficult, I think, because of how I've been taught, to just, I don't know, be perfect, or the idea of what perfection is, like, to always be available, like, oh, you're not a good friend if you're not, available for somebody, or, you're not a good daughter, partner, whatever it is, But yeah, so first I had to learn how to say no to myself. And that was hard at first, but it's definitely gotten easier to put those boundaries in place for myself. And then I think in retrospect also to other people, it's funny, Candice, you said you're coming from a place of anger. Like, I was kind of coming from a place of, I don't know, grief almost. Not pity. I wouldn't say that's where it was. I would say that it's more actual grief. Or what I thought was maybe necessity. But now it's like, I don't, because I would feel bad about saying no, or I would feel bad about asking for like a reason, or like trying to rationalize something. But now it's like kind of a resignation to myself, like that it is just that way, but also like that, like, I don't have to feel bad about it, like, because I don't know, I would just like you're ingrained in doing something a particular way for so long that, like, breaking that cycle becomes like almost all encompassing, like you're focused on, well, why is it that way? Like, how do I change that? Like, like it takes over a lot. But then once it does, like, then you can really start to break down things that aren't really good for you, like toxic behavior, and things that maybe you think, I'm sorry, my baby girl over there is a loud girl. Um, Chloe, oh my God, 2 seconds.
That's real life right there. Real life.
Isn't it? Listen,
Oh
dog mom, real life.
I'm like, she's beautiful, but she's loud. So it is what it is. But yeah, so yeah, sometimes you think that something is okay, and then you really find out that no, that was toxic behavior for like, ever.
All the time.
Because when I found out I had limerence, I said, oh my God, this is what I've been doing. This is the life I'm feeding myself.
Yep.
Girl. Yeah. And when you realize it, and this is the part that kind of trips me out, because like when you realize you have toxic habits or toxic thoughts or toxic, whatevers, they don't just go away.
Of course not.
You become more aware of them.
Yes.
And it's like, and you get annoyed. Like I get annoyed with myself. Like I'll sit there and a thought will creep in. It'll be like, well, don't you want to reach out to such and such? And then my other side is like, hell no, the boundary, hell no. And then it's like, well, why don't you? And it's like, you quit talking to me because you haven't been making good choices for us. You hush. You be quiet.
Literally that internal conversation every day, all day. Like literally like all day. Like it's just, and like the way that your brain is like, okay, I understand that I shouldn't be doing this, but then I don't know, the other part, or like your heart is like, no, but like really, like, it's not that bad, and it's like,
no, but it was that bad. It was that bad.
Yeah, it was. Like we saw the outcome of that already.
Right.
Like we know what that is. Right. Like all of us experienced all of that. So why do you want to do it again? Oh my gosh. Sometimes like people talk about how awareness leads to change, and that's true in most cases, but like sometimes awareness just leads to more awareness.
Right, exactly. You're just like compounding your awareness. You're like, yeah, no, but I know that. Like, yeah, but I know that. You know what it reminds me of like when people are like talking about going to therapy. And they're like, well, my therapist told me, like, yeah, you're aware now, but have you processed that? And you're like,
that's a whole separate
thing. I'm supposed to do what with that?
Yeah, that's a whole separate action.
Exactly. And it really does, like, I would say, like, I'm with you guys, like, when it comes to, like, saying no, it was definitely, like, for me, I mean, I've been working on that for a very long time. And, within that situation, I think it was because of my ex-husband and staying for an extra year that I realized where my boundaries lie. Right? And then after that situation, I was like, oh, we're not falling back into that again. And I think that we all have that, like, we all have that conversation with ourselves when a situation happens, right? We're like, oh, we're not doing that again. And then for the most part, like some of us don't fall back into that thing. Shamelessly, I have. Look, that's why 2023 happened for me. And when it came down to like being that person to say no and create my boundaries, I was very much like you, Candice, where I was like, yeah, this is a fuck no. Like we're not doing any of that. And I think it also was sort of like, kind of cutting myself off a little bit, kind of like I put myself on punishment because I was like, you were doing the most as well, Tay, right? Like we have to, I feel like with awareness
and time out, I have put myself in
all the time. Yep. Right? All the time. Like take your ass to the corner right now.
you get the awareness, it compounds, and then you're like, you go back to the first awareness, go back to that. Let's go ahead and process that.
But I think that's such an important part of the conversation, though, because usually when you hear things about self-love, it's always about the nurturing part of self-love. Nobody really talks about the discipline part of self-love.
Yes.
Because that's how you make sure you don't end up back in those situations and places again.
Yeah.
It's
Like
by
self-love is a religion.
you,
Like
yes, you have to
it is
practice it.
like you have to practice it. You have to wake up every day and choose to love yourself. To
Yes.
choose to love yourself in a way that is appropriate for you and your situation. And choose every day to make those choices, to do the awareness, to do the processing, and you're like, is this going to get better? And the answer is no.
Well, no, the answer may not be, well, the answer may not be no. The answer may be not today.
Not today. Not today. But
and I think that's one of the reasons, like, I feel like that's why people don't do the healing. They don't do the processing because they're like, well, look, in our popcorn society, if I can't have it now, then what's the point of changing it?
Yeah. And it's like, you know, sometimes you have to invest, and you want to invest in money, or like, no, the thing that you really should be investing in is yourself, is you. Because at the end of the day, all those other things will fall away. And what are you left with?
You.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. At the end of it all, it's just you.
It's just you.
Yep. And it sucks. Like, I think that a lot of times we don't think about like the choices and decisions that we make. Like, yes, it will affect the people around us in that moment. You might lose friends. Like you said, Candice, you were like, yeah, all of the other people fell back and were going like, you know, elsewhere. And I only had the, you know, 5 or so people that were actually in my circle. And the funny thing is that happens a lot when it comes to healing. So how would, like, in your particular situations, and then if you were talking to somebody and they were like, well, so-and-so left after, you know, my best friend left because after all of this stuff happened. What would you say to those people who are on this journey and they're like, well, I want my support system, but my support system is gone. They're non-existent. They haven't been helping me.
So I have developed like a tiny philosophy about life, right? In our relationships with people, right? You know, they always say, you know, somebody is in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, right? Well, some motherfuckers, I think, are just around for whatever the fuck it is they want, but has nothing to do with or for you. Right. So let's add those people into the mix because they exist too. And I think so much of your interactions with other people is trying to determine who is there for what reason. Mm-hmm. And that kind of predicates how you interact with them. Like, I mean, even with, like, even professionally, we've had people, you know, colleagues come and go, things like that. Like the person who's my business partner now, we met randomly working together years ago. We only worked together for like maybe 30 days. And then she took a job someplace else. And I didn't hear from her for years until we started working together again, like 7 years later. So it's like, you never really know. I tend to I've learned to just take my hands off of things. I realize that when you try and control and constrict things too much, mm-hmm. you mess things up. And so whenever people come, if they're not coming with drama and they're not coming with nonsense and they're coming in my best interest or in a way that I can accept, then I will accept them. If they're not coming in a way that I can accept, I leave them right where they're at. But those people that I do accept, if they choose to leave for whatever the reason, mm-hmm. I let it rock. Mm-hmm. I let it rock. I don't judge it. I don't feel any type of way about it, which took practice, but I let it rock because you never really know what that person's journey is, what they need to be going off and out there in their lived experience to do, and how they'll come back. What I have discovered are that the people in your life are really like, if your life is a road, mm-hmm. the people along the way are like mile markers or signs. Sometimes certain people come back at certain times just to show you how much you've grown and just to show you how much you've changed. And you can appreciate those experiences that they gave you. You can appreciate looking at that mile marker and say, you know what? I'm not the person I was on mile 15. Good to see you again. And keep it moving just the same. You don't have to hold on to that person, reconnect with that person. You don't have to. And I think that's the other thing too, is like people think when folks come back, you're supposed to just be like,
oh, hey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can come back, hang with a person for a moment and say, all right, I'll see you when I see you. And
girl, listen.
And just let it rock. Because the reality is, like, you really do miss the blessings and the lessons in those moments when you're so fixated on the person. Because at the end of the day, it's really not about them. It's more or less about your interactions with them and what you are getting out of it. And you're not going anywhere. You're always with yourself. Right. So it really doesn't feel like as much of a loss to me when people come and go.
I totally. I'm still surprised. Look, I'm always still surprised.
I know you take loss hard, friend. You do.
I think it depends on like the person. I think over the last like couple of months, has it been a couple of months? I think so. These last couple of months, I feel like I'm finally at that place where I'm like, it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
But it took a long time for me to get here.
It's a process.
Yeah.
I think for me, like, because of how I've lived, like, just a little background for this. Like, I lived abroad for 5 years. Like, I have moved out of my home state. Like, like, there are people that I know that if I called today and I haven't spoken to in like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, if I called them today and I was like, I need your help, they'd be like, okay, what do you need? Right. And there are people who I don't have to talk to every day. Like, I don't have to talk to every week. Hell, I don't even have to talk to them every year. But like, because of the connection that I have with them, like, it doesn't need to be that way. Like, that's just how our relationship is. And when we do get together and we have time and to be able to spend together, like, we slam hard, like we kick it. Like, it's a vibe, like, it's a vibe. But like, to be able to have friends or people that you can depend on, like, really depend on, like, that comes from choosing the right people. And like you said, Candice, not holding on to things so hard. Like, I think sometimes you have this expectation, especially with like a close friend, that, it's always going to be the same. And it's just not, like, we grow and we hope that our friends grow with us, like, up together. But like, sometimes, one goes like this. Like, that just happens. And if you really are their friend, it's okay to let them do their thing, and you can still rock with them when you can, but like, real support is not like, it's not coddling. It's real, like, ride or die support. That's what you really need in your life. Like, it doesn't have to be the person who's there every day. It has to be the person that's there when you really need something. Like, when you're really in a bind and you need XYZ, and they're there to be there for you to get it. And you have to be okay letting go of things that aren't there for you. And
that's true.
I just feel like when you travel, like, you meet people and you think like, oh, this is just going to be like a quick moment, and they end up being the people that are sticking closer to you than people like you've known your whole life,
Right.
or like sometimes even family, you know, like they're your family, they're supposed to be there all the time. That's not the case, like for a lot of people, you know, like, and that's something that I've had to realize.
Yeah. Yeah, the
Like,
expectations we put on others.
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like, and that's okay too, though. Like, you know, your family's doing their thing too, you know,
Right.
but like real support is also reciprocated support. You can't always be calling on others and have these expectations for them, and when they call you, you flake out on them. like you have to show and give the same support that you're expecting. So
Reciprocity.
yes, right. That's another story, guys.
No, I mean, I feel like, and that's so true. Like, I remember, you know, when I stopped drinking, one of the things that I wanted to do was show up better for the people in my life, because I felt like I wasn't, not because I was drinking, just because I just was in my own little world doing my own little thing, which is okay. But I realized that I wanted to be there more for the people in my life because I wanted to be there. So I really just made the effort to do so. For some of those relationships, it was a little too late, and that's okay too. But like Candice said, yes, I do take loss of friendship and loss of people in my life pretty hard. And I think that's because I'm like a loving being. Like, I'm just like, here, take all this greatness, like, do with it what you will. And then everybody's like, yes, give it to me, I'm gonna take it.
It's so good.
Right. It's amazing. Oh, you want something back? Why? Why do I have to give anything to you? And I'm just like,
Yeah, and that's the part where I'm like, no.
No, thank you.
And I think that's where, like, I think that's why these last couple of months have been so great for me. In the, like, seeing, like, okay, I can look, that reason, season, and lifetime, right? Like, all right, there's a reason why you came into my life right now. You probably came into my life to show me, like, oh yes, I think that you deserve something like this, but it doesn't look like this. Right? Just like, you know, you guys know, I had a friend come up to Cleveland to visit, and they were on their little vacation or whatever, and they wanted to hang out, and I was like, sure. But there were some expectations that weren't discussed on their side, that I had my own agenda. Like, that wasn't what I was here for. And then after I left and came home the next day, there was another, like, reach out of, hey, let's hang out. And I was just like, no, thank you. And left it at that. And like, literally, like, just haven't heard from them. And I think now that we're having this conversation, I'm like, it's because I have grown from where I was with that person in my life. And I now see, like, what that looks like. And it's not what I want.
Yeah.
And I think that goes into the choices and the decisions that we make and what they're actually based off of. You know, we sit here and we build our boundaries and we tell people no, but then, like, when it comes to, like, stand on it, like, you know, what does that look like? You know what I'm saying?
Ooh.
It's like when you, like when something happens in your life, like a pinnacle moment, you know, like, and you're like, man, I could really use a friend right now. Like, those are the moments that really show you who's going to show up in your life and who's going to really be that support for you. Because, like Candice has said, like, people just fall out, you know, like, just fall away. And like, you probably are thinking to yourself, like, God, like, I really thought like they were like a really good friend, and like, why are they like that? Why are they acting like this? And it's like, it just doesn't matter. Like, it just, for whatever reason, they're not there for you right now, and that's okay. But you need to be there for yourself. Like, that is so much more important than anything anybody's gonna say to you. And God, I just, sometimes you get so sad to like see people go, but then it's like, did I really need you anyways?
Right. What were you really bringing? Or was it just that I
Right.
got comfortable with you?
Exactly. And I think
Like,
that's the thing. I think that's a good point too, when it comes to like a lot of people going through growth and healing and, you know, transitioning from one life space to another. It's like, where have we gotten so comfortable in our lives where the things that we have been accepting were okay, and now we're looking at our lives and we're like, ooh, that really isn't it. That's not it.
It's funny how a lot of friends are situational. Like the situation that you're in puts you in that friend group, and then you realize like, I'm not in that situation anymore. I've grown out of it. I'm not the same person I was when I was there. And they like, sometimes they want to pull you back in, and it's just like,
because they're comfortable with you too.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm not that person anymore. Like, I could still be your friend, but I'm not gonna do those things anymore. Like, it's just not who I am. And like, having somebody accept that and be able to move past it and move on to what's next.
Too. Yeah, it's really hard to move on when the other person is still like, no, this is going to stay the way I want it to stay. Because that's happened to me too a few times, and it never ends well. Like no matter how upfront, no matter how direct, no matter how earnest and honest you want to be in the conversation, I haven't had it go well yet. So I don't know if anybody out there has solutions. I'd love to hear them. How do you let go when the other person isn't ready to be let go of? These are questions.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I think that's a good point too. Like, we think about, yes, we're going through our own thing. Going back to what you said, we're trying to find our way back to ourselves. But when people are stuck in whatever reality that is that they want to keep, how do you walk away from that? At this point, I literally just like, I remove myself, like little people in the cars in the game of life. Like, I just like take it out of there.
With people like that, I have to go. Unfortunately, when situations like that arise, I have to go no contact, because it's like, no matter what contact I have with the person, they're going to see that as a window, an avenue, a hook, or whatever. And I just don't have time to keep this push and pull, this tug of war. I'm gonna just let the rope go and let you fall in the mud, and I'm gonna go walk away.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's probably the one boundary that I have no problem assessing. Like it's
I think the easy ones, like the no contact, when you're like done, you're like, oh,
goodbye.
Yeah. It gets a little harder when it's like you want to keep the relationship, but you need to change how it's structured.
Yeah. Sometimes those are, I think, more difficult because, you know, your feelings are still there. I mean, your feelings are still there with the people that you're going no contact with, but it's a different kind of feeling.
Right. Especially when like you want to change the structure of the relationship and you have changed, but the other person has not.
I feel like that's also hard.
It's so funny because I feel like a lot of this conversation that we're having could be directed towards romantic relationships as well.
Oh, I was talking about my mama in that moment.
I know. That's so funny. It's the same like idea, just a different application. You know, like I'm the friend, like I love my friends. Like I deeply care for and love my friends. Like sometimes it's weird for people, but I will actively be like, I love you. Okay, bye, I'm hanging up. Love you. You better say it. Like,
you know, like love me, David.
Yes. And like for me also, like especially when I was younger, it was a bit different for me because I'm an only child.
Mm-hmm.
And like my friends really did become my family because I I connected to people in a different way, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like, and that was probably a little bit more difficult for me as a kid because realizing that like they're your friends, but they aren't your family, not in the
Mm-hmm.
same way. Like some of them are. Like there are definitely people that I have known more than half of my life
Mm-hmm.
and will continue to know the rest of my life, and that's just how it's going to be. But like there's still something that changes in a relationship, any relationship, friendship, partnership, whatever. But
Yeah.
it's really interesting when you have those moments where you're like, I have my partner and I have my friend, and I'm dealing with the same thing that I have to. It's difficult to be able to
Yeah.
make that change. Yeah.
No, I definitely agree. I think for me, when it came down to a lot of what you guys are talking about, like where either in a partnership or in a friendship, where my friend base has like grown in different ways, or when they haven't, it becomes really hard for me. I think one of my before last year, and going through like the major, I feel like last year going into now was like the biggest shift that I've had personally. um, but when I was with my ex-husband, like there was a moment where I thought, and I say I thought, not to rag on his growth, um, but there was a moment where I thought that he was growing faster than I was. Like he
Mm.
was putting in more work than I was. And I felt like I was getting left behind. And I think that sometimes we have to remember that somebody else's growth is not going to look like your growth. It's not going to look the same. We're not going to go through the same things. My ex-husband was into, all of the things that he was into with the MLMs and the, personal development and all of that stuff. Like that particular kind of growth was different for him than it would have been for me had I done it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about last year where my growth was really like, it was really, the beginning was me not drinking anymore. And there are a lot of people who were like, you're going to stop drinking? Why would you do that? I can't believe that you're going to do that. And it got worse when I told them I was going to Vegas with you ladies. And everybody was like, oh, I have to stop. I have to forgo that for the week because I'm going out to turn up. And I was just like, I mean, that is
But
you.
we did turn it.
We turned
Because
up.
We
I'm
turned
like, did
all
we
the
have
way
to
up.
be drunk to turn up? Because I didn't
I don't know what
realize
Exactly.
that
that was
meant.
a
I don't know
thing.
what that meant.
And I think it's just this like it's again with the narrative that Vegas puts out. It's like you go out and you're like, oh, you can drink on the strip and you can do all this, and it's like, but there's so much more to do.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys know this better than everybody in the podcast don't know now, but like when I went to Vegas that time, I told you guys like I am looking to change my experience from the last time I was in Vegas. Because the last time I was in Vegas, I was shit faced for 4 days.
Wow.
Like we did nothing. And we woke up. It was 5 o'clock somewhere. That's how it was. Like the kiosk opened up at 10. I had me my little Long Island. Like I was drinking all the time. Um, so I was looking to change my experience. And I think that it's interesting that you start to see who the people in your life really are when you change something major about yourself and you start to like do things just slightly different. And it may not even be huge. Like me not drinking was like, if that was like, that was a big thing for me. But I'm pretty sure that for some people, they're like, oh, that's just like a small thing. Like, she'll go back to drinking. I think I had people who actually were probably like that. Like, she'll go back. She'll come back to drinking. She'll do it. Just once. It's like, no thanks.
And it's like, you know what? Even if you did, so what? That's your choice.
Like, exactly. And I think that comes back to like making decisions, keeping those commitments to yourself, waking up every day and choosing to be this new person. What kinds of things have you guys like implemented in your life that keep you motivated for your change, that keep you motivated to do your self-care routines, to show up for yourself, to always what is the word? I can't believe that this word is gonna be so simple. Where you like rally behind yourself, like you're your own cheerleader. There's another word for it. When you stand up for yourself. I think that's what it was. It's so simple. But when you stand up for yourself, like what does that look like, feel like? Like,
So
well, I
for
showed
me,
you one of mine. Oh, sorry.
oh yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say you gamify. For me, and I just to kind of get some background to your listeners, because you guys kind of know what the situation is. So I have, developed some intellectual property and we're in the process of, trying to get that sold. And so my way of constantly motivating myself is putting myself, I call it raising the stakes. I put myself out there. And so it's like I make a commitment to do something, but I make a commitment to another group or to another person to say, I will provide you this, but it's related to what it is I'm trying to do. Like my goal is always at the forefront, but it's almost like a milestone on that goal. And so it's like, okay, well now because when you're the only person expecting something to be done, you can kick the can down the road as long as you want to. But if somebody else is there, it almost provides that opportunity for accountability to say, okay, I'm not going to let myself down in front of this witness. It's like having a witness. I'm not going to fall on my face in front of this person. You're not going to see it, not today. So we're going to stand up and show out when we get there.
All the time.
That's awesome. That's a great way to hold yourself accountable. Yeah.
I agree. Which kind of, it's funny because, I hear a lot of people say like, keep your goals like basically tight to the chest, right? Like don't share your goals.
No, I don't share the goal. I don't share the goal, but we will have a conversation around the goal. And I agree with that. I don't think you should share the goal because there are ops everywhere. I encounter them daily. So I don't share with them that this is tied to this other thing that I'm secretly doing behind the scenes.
Okay. But this is the milestone.
But this is the milestone putting me toward that.
It's your KPI.
Yes, it's my KPI. That's exactly what it is.
The KPIs of life. Right? I feel like that's what I'm going to call this episode. Like the KPIs of life. Like
milestones and mile markers.
Right? Literally.
I feel like that's so important. I think that, when we get to a point where we've lost sight of what it was that we were going for in the beginning, a lot of people have trouble.
Is Chloe ready for a walk?
Oh,
I heard it in her voice. I heard it. She was like, "Oh."
I was like trying to mute her. She's literally been over here like, and I'm like, "Give me like 10 more minutes, Chloe." And she's literally like, I gotta show you. She's like literally sitting over Jorge.
She is ready to go.
She's like, excuse me.
She is ready.
It's like, if you don't take me out.
Sorry, Niecy Poo. Look, I'm gonna release your mom here in just a little bit.
Just a minute. Okay, all right. Sorry. Okay, we're back.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Look, this is real life, people. It's real life.
Real life.
But no, when it comes to finding your way back to your goals and your dreams and what that looks like, I feel like that is a very important thing to realize, is that you're still going to, my brain, you have walked so many miles away from your intended dream that now you have to turn around to walk back towards it.
To find it.
And
to find where you left it.
Exactly.
And every
each
person
of those
passed along the way. Every person you passed along the way, you gonna see them motherfuckers when you walk back to your dream. So you better make sure you treat people right, just as a side note, because you're gonna come across them again.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be in a different capacity, or probably in a different capacity. It might be in the same capacity, but you're still going to be able to see. Like, I think that having that discernment of knowing, like, okay, I'm finding my way back, which means that it is likely that there are going to be some duplicate faces, some duplicate situations in order for me to get back to where I was. And we have to remember that, again, we've already walked. Like, we know that we can do it because we walked 100 miles away from that motherfucker. Like, we left it back there. We know we can do it. We just got to turn around. We have to change our path. We have to turn around and we have to go back, whether it's the same goal that you had before or whether it's a new one. You're still going to have to walk and continue to get there. I love y'all bitches. This is exactly why we be having these talks. The funny part about this is that we have these talks on a regular basis.
That's true. We do.
It's just more structured.
Right. I'm happy that we got this on, like, look, you're right. It is more structured. For Dear Tay, you got this. We made a more structured talk for you guys. But like, honestly, like, this is why I love you guys and why I am so happy to have you guys in my life, because we literally sit and we have these talks, and sometimes I forget, like, you guys are like, oh yeah, Tay helped me with this. Like, Candice has helped me through many days of just ridiculousness. And Vanessa has been there too. Like, I will call Vanessa up in a heartbeat, like, I am having a problem. And she's like, I got the minutes, girl. Talk to me, girl. Like, let's do it. And I think that is so important. And I'm so glad that you guys decided to, join me on my podcast, because if anybody support, these two support. Even if I'm
real
like,
support.
Hey, like, hey, get on my podcast. Like, what we talking about? Do I gotta look pretty? Do I gotta look nice? Listen, no, just let's do the things. I love it.
Just do the shocks.
So no, thank you guys so much. Look, we're gonna let Vanessa get to take Chloe out. But before we go, the end of my podcast, at every podcast, I do a Trinity. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to go around and I want you to tell me, I want you to not just tell me, but tell the listeners something that you want to brag about, something that you are grateful for, and something that you desire.
Okay.
The cool thing is unless somebody has actually listened to my podcast, do they know that I do this at everyone? And so far, every guest that I've had on has no idea that I do this. And they're like, oh, I have to brag on this?
Okay, so it's one thing we want to brag about, one thing we're grateful for, and then one thing we desire, right?
Yep.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah. You ready, Vanessa?
I think so.
All right.
Okay, so what? This first thing kind of hits all three of these things, but
okay.
But I am about to brag so hard on my partner because he is doing a lot, like, not just like for me, but for his job. And he has gotten a promotion. And
really? Because he just started again.
Yeah, Jorge.
Right?
Hey.
And
Jorge.
It's like, some people would be like, it's not that. It's a promotion in my book, and I don't care. And I am gonna brag on it because
I remember when he was interviewing for that job last year when we were in Orlando.
And can I just also brag on his company a little bit? Because, like, let me tell you this, okay? I have worked for some big corporations. His company put out what they call like a transparency. It's for the amount of money that they pay each person, they show you a comparison of other people in that role so that you can see where you sit on the pay percentile.
Okay.
And it also shows you like where, if you are looking for growth, here's how you can grow. And
Oh.
if you're at the top of that scale, like now it's time to look like for another role in the
Mhm.
company, mind you, in the company, because they like to promote from within. And I was just like, damn, I wish somebody would tell me where I should be getting paid. Like, right?
Yeah.
Like I was just like, that's amazing. Like, way to go, guys. Like, that's awesome.
That's
And
cool.
then for this, what was the second thing? There's something
What you're grateful for.
what I'm grateful for. Okay, a little cheesy, but I'm grateful for you guys. Like I'm grateful for stop. Stop it right now. Stop it. My eyeball is already watering. But no, really like real support is hard to come by. And these two women, they're godsends.
We love you, V.
Always love you, girl.
And then oh, something I desire.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, desire is a good word.
It is.
I am desiring some international travel.
Girl,
Girl.
me
I'm just saying.
too.
Like
Same.
Same.
I am desiring
I need
to
a
get
trip
up out of this country for a little
quickly.
bit
Just away.
and and I'm really hoping that it will be very soon because I don't know.
I'm with you, girl. Yes.
But no, seriously, like that is something that is going to be a hard push for me. Like I need to to go. So when y'all are ready, like we're doing this together. I'm dragging you
Yes.
both along.
So, well, I'm passport ready now. Hey.
Hey,
Hey, it don't take nothing but with an application and a pick, okay? Because I'll be there.
right?
Exactly.
Here we go.
Exactly.
So
Thank
yeah,
you so
those are
much for
my three.
sharing.
Of course.
Um, so I think I'm gonna go a little out of order.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with what I'm grateful for first, and I will say, just because I've been reflecting, right? I am definitely grateful for where I am in my life and who is with me.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely grateful. Come a very long way from where I was to where I am, and to say that, along this journey, I have found peace. And along this journey, I have found prosperity.
Mm-hmm.
And those were two concepts that were completely foreign to me until that point. So to be here it's an amazing feeling. It really is an amazing feeling. And to share it with you all is even better. So love y'all.
Love you too, babe.
So much.
Let's see. What I desire.
That face.
Right?
It's tough because I don't want for much. Like I'm content. And I guess that's kind of the strange thing is, like, I have my goals and I'm going for them, but to say there's something out there that I want, I would say, I guess there are times where I desire like adult companionship, like an adult romantic companion. And then there are days when I'm just like,
Look, after this conversation, we're just like, ooh, see, that's a lot of work on both sides.
Trust me, it's never a lingering desire. It might last for about maybe 15 minutes, and then it's like, it's gone, and there's reasons for that.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say I wouldn't even say it's a desire, because the desire is something that's sustained, right? That's more of a dalliance. It's a fancy. Like it comes and it goes.
It's fleeting.
It's ephemeral. It just like wisps. Right? 1 minute, gone the next, right? And the thing that I want to brag about I'm going to brag on my kid for a second.
Yes, tell us about him.
I really do think, I mean, I think I have the best kid in the world. I do.
I think you do too, honestly.
I have never met a young man who is kinder, more intelligent. Like to give an example. So I had gotten a promotion a couple months ago, and we were talking about it. And he said, Mommy, I'm really not surprised you got that promotion. And I said, oh, really? I said, why not? And he said, because I've seen your growth.
Sir.
Like you're 10. Like where is this coming from within you, little human? But
really, I feel like that's something that says a lot about who you are in general. Because I mean, we've known you for damn near 20 years.
Forever.
But he's known you like his whole life, and he's watched you grow into the person that you are, and first of all, your kid is just so great. Like, love hanging out with him, and I feel like he's one of the good ones. He's gonna be one of the good ones.
You know what's funny? Like, I've never wanted somebody to grow up so that I can see what they're gonna become, but like stay little at the same time.
Man,
like, it's so hard because I'm like, oh God, I can't wait to see what he's gonna do, and like, I just know that it's gonna be something fucking awesome, and I cannot wait. But like, I can honestly say that really, I believe him when he says that he has seen you grow. Like, I can honestly say, like, sometimes kids like just say things, they don't really understand what they're saying, but like I can really honestly say, like, I believe him. I believe it.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And that's awesome.
Yeah, he has definitely been, if there's ever been a motivation, it really is like, my goal is to build it all and leave it all to him. And whatever he does with it, I'm fine. But my goal is to build it all and leave it all for him.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Your mom's out there like you, man. Like you. I'm sure there are, but No,
I'm sure.
Like, I'm sure that there are, but like,
there are probably more moms that are out there, talking about, they pussy pink and they booty hole brown. But it's just.
But I say that in the sense of like, I don't know. I'm not friends with a lot of moms who have the same motivation and devotion that you do to yourself and your legacy. Like, I don't have friends in my circle who have kids who are doing that. So you are like the best example of, mom growth that I've seen. Like, hashtag mom growth. So yeah, no, I love that. Thank you guys so much for bragging on yourselves, for sharing what you're grateful for, and
you didn't share yours.
That's funny because usually when I do guests, I don't. But I guess I don't, because it's not about me. It's about my guests. So I let them.
Well, the podcast is called Dear Tay.
This is true, but when I have my guests, I don't want to it's like I don't want to steal their shine, right? So I guess
steal it.
I guess for me, let's see. I feel like I do a brag every week, so this is funny because I'm like, I get to just talk about myself and all of my accomplishments, right? And I'm gonna say, I'll probably do mine out of order too, because I have to find a brag. Look, what haven't I bragged about yet? I have one. So what I'm grateful for, you know what? I'm kind of along the same lines as Candice. Like, I'm grateful that I found what my peace looks like. Because as you guys know, like, I wouldn't say that my life has been chaotic.
You would?
But
I was like, who are you lying to out here?
about you on your podcast, friend. Go ahead, do you?
And I feel like, okay, so chaotic is probably a pretty good word for it, right? And I feel like for a long time, like we talked about, like, I know me and Candice have had plenty of talks about just like how much I transition and transform throughout the years of my life. Like there's always been something. And don't get me wrong, it's always been for the better, but it's always been a process. And I feel that now that I have found what my peace looks like for me, I feel like my life has gotten less so.
Mm.
Mm.
And it's weird.
But you know what though? I feel that because it's like things in my life have picked up too. And that peace that I had, it's inner peace.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like, I mean, we had a conversation about all the crazy stuff that's going on around my job and what's going on just out in the world. Things have definitely become more chaotic.
Yes.
But here,
it's calm.
It's calm.
Like just real centered, real aligned, like just really just getting that balance. And I'm super grateful for that because the last 4 years have not been a cakewalk, right? And to know that it's finally like there's just like I'm like, oh, so what do I do with all this newfound like contentment and relaxation? Like what do I do with that now? Because I'm no longer in survival mode.
Mm.
And I feel like that's something to be grateful for because holy hell, like my life
it's not fun.
It was pretty chaotic, y'all. Like so it's a pretty good descriptive word for it. So I'm glad that I've found some peace over here. That's definitely something to be grateful for. My brag. So I have been doing all the things. Mostly just like for my business and stuff. And you guys know all the things I've been doing, writing my book and doing my workshop with you two. So thank you so much for joining my workshop and helping me figure out what that looks like. But within that, I started to post up more on Facebook about my Facebook group. Mm-hmm. And here I was thinking, nobody wants to be in my group because X, Y, Z a factor. And I literally, within the last week, I've posted 3 times about people joining my group so that they can learn more about what I do and self-care and any other tips and tricks that I have about changing habits and transforming your life. And I got 7 new members in my group. All right. So I'm gonna brag about that.
All right, brag on it, friend.
Hey. And then after I got like the first 3, I went to somebody and I was like, see, I put this up thinking like, oh, nobody wanted to be in my group. And people actually came in there. I was like, yes, please send me the things. I want to know the stuff. And I was like, dang, now I got to go do some posts. Now I got to go do some work.
Right. Now they watching. Now I got to do something.
All right. Right.
See, you stay.
Right. But like, it's where I want to be. Like, I absolutely love what I do. And I love what the conversations that I have and talk about and things like that. So like, it's not that big of a thing, but I think like I've been stuck in my brain for so long that I was just like, oh no, people actually, okay, we can go do some things. We'll share it, right? So that's my brag. I got 7 new people in my group, so.
All right.
And then my desire, after today, my desire is really to have a vacation. I feel like it's so funny because like you guys know with starting my new job, like my vacation starts in May instead of at the beginning of the year. So yeah, because when I started my job, I started in May and I was like, hey, I have like all of these things planned. And they were like, oh, okay. I'm pretty sure they didn't plan on giving me vacation when I first started. They probably were, but like it wasn't gonna be as many days as it was. And they were like, yeah. So I remember like, oh, when does my vacation start? They were like, well, you used all your vacation days from now until like for the year. And they were like, so it'll start over in May. And I was like, all right. So I think I have 2 days left out of the already planned days that I have. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to plan myself a vacay. And it'll most likely be like in the spring instead of like not around when like, the boss and his family go on their vacation, but somewhere in like April or something before my vacation starts over. I think I need to take a couple of days for myself and just actually I might come visit one of y'all
Totally fair.
bitches. Look, I might come visit one of y'all because I also realize I need a beach on a consistent basis. Ohio Beach is not the kind of beach.
That's a lake. That's not I need oceanic beaches.
Right.
Yes, thank you.
Need a little bit more different waters. Okay.
Please and thank you.
Yes, yes. So yeah, thank you. Look, you want to know what's funny? As my guest, you guys are the first ones to ask me what my trinity is. So I thank you guys.
Of course.
For being like, yes, Tay, go ahead and do that. I just didn't do it because I was like, oh, we have a guest. Like they can talk about their stuff. But I talk about my stuff every week, so it's like, they can have it. They can have it. So, but yes, thank you guys so very much. I very much enjoyed this conversation, and I'm so glad that you guys joined me for this. And of course, anytime that you guys want to just come on my podcast and shoot the shit and tell my audience wonderful things about life and growth and
Girl,
all
we're here.
things, we can totally do that. Remember, if you guys want to share your trinities on the podcast, you can go ahead and text me on my text line at 330-552-7234. Or you can leave me a voicemail and I will share it on the podcast because I'm not the only one that has things to brag about and be grateful for. So I would love to share other people's trinity as well. And of course, if you want to find me, you can listen to my podcast, or you can go to my TikTok or Instagram at Phoenix of Change. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, please subscribe, share it with everybody else, tell them how much of just great, wonderful people I invited on my show. And if this message resonated with you, please leave a comment below. And I will talk to you guys next week. So have a good one, everybody.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.
Chakra Wonders is a company based out in Arizona. A good friend of mine owns the company, and they have all kinds of wonderful metaphysical things on their website, whether it is mugs, book bags, posters. I even have a pair of socks, and these are the root chakra socks, which I had to get because if you don't know, I have about 300 probably, at this point, I have about 300 pairs of socks. Counted, there have been 234 pairs of socks. So it's probably easy to say that I have over 300 pairs of socks hanging out in my house. All right. And I had to get a pair of the root chakra socks. And then I also got one that also says all chakras, or chakra socks. Yeah. And I absolutely love the fit of these. They're super comfy. And the fact that they have the chakras on them also made them really they really caught my eye. And I was very happy to get a link from them to be able to share with you all 15% off of any purchase that you do on their website. So you just go to www.chakrawonders.com. And when you're checking out, you put in coupon code DEARTE, that's DEARTE. And when you put that code in, you get 15% off your purchase. Now, the one thing that I also did when it came down to Chakra Wonders, I had talked with the owner, who again is a good friend of mine, and I was telling them how I was going to be doing podcast inspired paintings. And right now there is a Tay Youngblood collection on their website. You can get 3 paintings that I have, and I'll go ahead and put them in here somewhere, however they, turn up. But you can actually get those as wall posters from chakrawonders.com as well. So I'm super excited about that, because that also means that I get to share my art with the world, not just from this podcast, but people who go to the website in general also are able to see that collection and pull things from there as well. So go to chakrawonders.com, type in coupon code Dear Tay, and you will get 15% off. Thanks for tuning in to Dear Tay, You Got This. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review, join our mailing list, and share it with someone ready for transformation. Stay connected with us on TikTok at Phoenix of Change, and catch our episodes on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify every Tuesday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember, one new habit is all you need to seek growth and transformation in your life. What will your new habit be? A big thank you to our amazing listeners and to Chakra Wonders for their support. Until next time, keep evolving and embracing change.